Hello everybody, Matt here from the Planet, and today I'm doing a review of my Chester Marathon.
Won't make a mistake.
So I'll show some clips of the race as well, and if you're interested, there's also a video I've already released that gives a pretty much of a run through of the route from the start to the finish of the Chester Marathon. So if you fancy that, go and have a look at that, maybe after or before this video. At the start of the race, I'd lined up with the sub 330 runners, and there was a section. There was basically, it wasn't segregated waves or anything like that, but there was sections, you know, for whatever time you wanted to go through for, you know, sub 3 hours, sub 330. I think they were varying about every 15 minutes or something like that. So I jumped in the sub 330 group. And pretty much straight from the off, and within the first 1 or 2 kilometers, you could see really well that everybody at this race course there were a lot of people who were in good shape. You know, a lot of strong runners. Everybody was running comfortably. A lot of people looked like they were running with good form. You know, so people were generally taking it seriously, and I've made a decision on this race that I really wanted to focus on my pacing, focus on my heart rate, all the metrics that I've got for the race, make sure I'm taking nutrition and water and things like that at the right times. Maybe I didn't get that perfect, something we'll come on to in a little bit, but I just really wanted to focus as best as I could, so I decided not to run with any music or any earphones in. I think it was a totally different contrast to the race that we ran a few weeks ago when we ran the Great North Run. It was definitely a lot more competitive at Chester. The course had something like 13 or 14 rolling hills throughout it, and there was probably 3 of them, 3 of the hills that I would say that were significant. The other ones, they weren't actually too bad. You didn't really notice them too well. Some of the sections are running along the straight road. You haven't to look really far down the road and think, is the road rising or is it dropping down? So a lot of it wasn't too bad. There was just probably, you know, 2 or 3 that were hills that would catch you out, and you'd have to work a bit harder going up, but generally it meant that you could keep a good pace. The weather conditions were, well, say they were all over the place. You know, generally it was blustery, it was windy, although in the first half we didn't really feel that too much. And then obviously we had some sections where the sun came out, but it was never really too hot. But there was a section in the middle. It was drizzling throughout, but there was a section in the middle that was quite heavy with rain. It lasted quite a long time. It even lasted, you know, kind of changing its intensity. Probably lasted for about an hour or so. So it's quite a challenge in running that respect. It meant that you couldn't decide, you know, whether it was keeping you cool. It was definitely keeping you cool, but whether how much sweat you're putting out, you know, or whether you weren't actually sweating that much, you were just constantly wet. But I think overall, you know, the cooler conditions when it was raining was actually helping the performance. Felt really good from the start. Felt like I had a lot of energy. Could perform really well. I mean, my plan was to go out at kind of like sub 5 pace, 4:50 pace. and kind of 450 is getting me around about that 325 time. And really, I was happy to do a little bit more at the start, and just allow myself to be able to slow down at the end. But I was also going a little bit on feel, so I felt if I'm doing 450 pace, 450 minutes per kilometre, and it's feeling good, that's fine. And I could find that I could run a little bit faster than that, so I was up at 445 pace, and I think from the first 10k split, actually came in at 4 minutes 45 minutes per kilometre, so that was 47 minutes 39 seconds. So that was going really, really well for the first 10k. And likewise for the 20k split, that was 447, and then the 30k split was 455. So the times are all for the first 30k were all below 5 minutes per kilometre, so we're right on target for a sub 330, and possibly even a 325. And obviously my wife was there with us at the race waiting for us at the finish. And she kept getting the splits on the phone at the 10k, the 20k and the 30k, and she was told that I was expected at 3 hours and 24 minutes coming across the finish line. So you'd expect maybe it slow down a little bit at the end, but generally that's the kind of pace that we were going on for. So when we got to 33 kilometers, the kind of wheels fell off the track. I've been doing really well. I'd taken all my gels as I planned to do it. Taken on water from the course as I expected, but at 33 kilometers I started getting a bit of cramp, unfortunately, and I just thought, this is not what I want. I'd worked a lot of my training to get cramp out of it, but it kind of struck. So I thought, we'll go on a little bit and see how it goes. So I ended up having to kind of like stop a bit, walk, try and stretch it out a little bit. And then run walk, and in the end it didn't really go away. It just kept staying with us, but I was able to run for sometimes a few hundred meters, sometimes half a kilometre, and then I'd have to have a stop and walk a little bit more, or stretch it out. But off a bit, I've just started to get a bit of cramp in my left hamstring, so just taking a little breather and walked a little bit. It was a funny situation because when I've had cramp in the past, I've been really low on energy as well, and that having a few days off after the marathon, thinking about it, I'm thinking that it's got to come down to probably the electrolytes and the salt and sodium levels that I've got in my body. Normally in training, I'll have water bottles with electrolytes in them, ready to go. So I'll probably have 2 or 3 bottles either around the course or carrying them with me for the run. I probably drank more water on the run this time, and it's possible that the extra water that I drank diluted the salt levels and the electrolytes already in my body a little bit more, possibly. I'm not too sure about that. That's a possible theory I'm thinking about. But the other one was I probably did carry less electrolytes. I had 1 electrolyte tablet with me that I broke up and put into a couple of water bottles, but it's less than I would normally take. Probably take another one. So although I did drink some electrolyte water before I started the run as well, I probably did take on a little bit less, which probably means to me that I want to look at the how much, if I can, some way of working out how much my salt losses are. So maybe try and get one of these sweat tests done to see how much sodium I'm losing through a run or through a marathon, and try and replenish them a bit more. It's possibly that all through my training I've taken just enough. The other thing that I'd probably put it down to was I didn't get a good night's sleep the night before, so it was a bit noisy in the hotel. It woke me up at some point. There's a bit of a party going on there. So I think probably on the run this time, put it down to we took less. I probably drank more water, maybe 30% more water than I would do on a marathon normally, and maybe 50% or 40% less electrolytes on the actual run itself. So, and then couple that with a tough night's sleep the night before. Probably the reason why cramp happened. Unfortunately, you just can't control some of these times. You just got to take it as it is, and move on, and hope for it not to happen on the next time, and do what we can in the training to push that off. I tend to find that if I am getting cramp, it does come on at about 32, 33 kilometres. So although I did do a marathon last year and it came on around about 38 kilometres. So yeah, it's just something I'm gonna have to work on a little bit more. I think the medal's really good. The medal's fantastic in terms of, you know, what you can see on that, and they've got all the sites, the bridges, the cathedral, all those kind of things that are advertised. You know, obviously it was done at the race course. There's an image of the horse racing that goes on there, and that's where the start line was at the race course. The recovery pack or the bag of kit, they got the t-shirt, a long sleeve t-shirt. It was like a long sleeve t-shirt for me running, so it's nice to get a nice long sleeve t-shirt like that. You could actually pick the size when you went through. It wasn't a case of having to order your size, or you'd suggest what size you wanted to go for beforehand, but you could just pick what size you wanted when you actually collected your medal when you crossed the finish line. So that was quite good. But the recovery pack was fantastic. The stuff that you got in there. I tend not to like nuts so much. If you like peanuts and that, every recovery pack at every race it gives you loads of that. But they give you chocolate protein bars. I think there's a Rocky Robin in there. There's loads of stuff in there. They can give you a bandana. Just a really, really good recovery race pack after the run. I think the location was fantastic because I was able to. I had a bit of an issue in the morning about getting to the racetrack. We'd spent a bit of time on the night before trying to get a taxi, and we actually drove up to the race course from the hotel because it was about 4 or 5 miles from our hotel, about 4 or 5 kilometres from our hotel. And ideally the plan was to get a taxi at about 8 o'clock, but Chester being a relatively small town, when a big event like this comes on, maybe they don't have the resources and the taxi companies to deal with it. So we were getting told by the taxi companies that they weren't able to guarantee a taxi for us, and we'd have to call back on the morning when we actually wanted to use it, so they could see how the roads were in relation to the road closure, see how busy it was. Which didn't really work. But unfortunately, what you could actually do was you could actually drive up to the racecourse on the morning. So the car park opened at 6:30. You could get in there around that time, then close about 7, 7:30. And it just meant you had to sit in the car for a while until the race started. But it meant that you could use the facilities there. When the race started, you could just get out your car and go to the start line. And you were kind of like 500 meters from the start line. So it meant that I left the car at like 10 to 9 and I was on the start line, so it's not like you were standing around or walking around a lot before the race actually started. It just would have been a bit nicer to get a bit more sleep before the run, because we were waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but considering, I think it was really, really good. All in all, I think it was a fantastic marathon. I will be going back to Chester again one day to run a marathon. I'm not sure it will be next year. There's other things coming up. Next year we've got 2 marathons already booked in, 2 live events, one in April, one in May, so really looking forward to those. I'm probably going to try and get into at least 1, possibly 2 half marathons now in autumn, winter. I really find that I can race the half marathons now, and they don't really take too much out my body. They're a good part of the training block. So since I've been back, the eye's straight onto the Silverstone half marathon now, which is coming up this weekend, just a few days away. So I've had a few days after the Chester marathon, and my idea was to not run any long distances. I've got to recover as fast as I can, in the best shape as I can. With the cramp, it doesn't help because the more so my calf muscles are feeling it, that they feel like they've been worked harder than would have done normally at a marathon, if you will, and probably just because that tight cramping up, clenching of the calf muscles. The soleus muscle has not felt strain at all. When I try and stretch that out, there's no problems at all. But stretching out the main calf and the full connected chain, that's when I feel a bit more strain. So the first couple of days were difficult, and I managed to get on the treadmill to do work, partly just because the weather was absolutely awful around here. But I got on the treadmill to do a 5k. And that was just an easy recovery pace and try and keep my heart rate right down about 130 beats per minute. The idea there is for me to kind of promote getting out the bad waste product as your body starts to heal and recover overnight. There's obviously some bad waste product left in your blood, right at, at the end of the capillaries in your muscles and stuff like that. So try and force that out a little bit easier, but not running too hard to elevate your heart rate and start producing more and more waste products. So just trying to aid the body in recovering a bit faster. Essentially, like what they say is a recovery run. And then the day after that, so that was on the Tuesday. Then on the Wednesday, went outside for a run, ran a 6K, and the same kind of thing again, and just to try and help. And I did find a bit afterwards, it was a little bit stiffer on the foam roller, a bit harder to work the muscles, a bit sorer than it has been in other times and after other runs I've done. But it's definitely starting to come back to us now. And I woke up this morning and we're feeling good. So I'll have another run tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Friday, and I'll have another run outside, and that should probably be the last one before Sunday's half marathon at Silverstone, which I'm very much looking forward to. It's 2019 when I was there last time. I wasn't in the best shape for running the race, but I still managed to do a sub 2, and it was the time was something like 1 hour 58. But this time around, coming off the back of the Great North Run, we ran a 1:39. So the plan this year will be to run something like that. This course is a lot flatter. It's a racetrack, car racetrack, and it's very flat. I think the total elevation gain from start to finish is less than 100 metres, something around about 60 metres. So what I'll be planning to do is to go much faster than originally I was planning to go much faster than I did in the Great North Run, so probably targeting somewhere close to 1 hour 35, which would be a total marathon PR. But it just depends on how fresh the body is. So I think I should be able to go out at a good pace, maybe something like 4:40 or even 4:30 minutes per kilometre, and then we'll just have to see how I feel through the race. Unfortunately, with it being a half marathon, I won't be worried about electrolytes and things like that, just maybe taking on some water, just a little bit as I'm going around the course. So yeah, really looking forward to that. That'll probably be the next video up, unless I manage to get time to do a video of a preview of the Silverstone Marathon. But other than that, thanks for sticking to the end of my review. If there's any comments or questions that you've got about it, then by all means drop them in the comments section. Please like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.